Give us a brief introduction about yourself, my friend.
So my name is Baron. I'm a fractional CMO and entrepreneur.
Yep.
Fractional CMO, for people who don't know, it's like a freelance marketing leader. So instead of working at one business as a chief marketing officer full-time, I work at a bunch of businesses, right now 7, as a part-time chief marketing officer. So that's what fractional means. I'm just divvying up my time between businesses. So 3 hours a week here as an advisor, 8 hours a week there as somebody who's a little bit more hands-on. And I just take full accountability for the results of the marketing department, fire the team, work with various vendors on behalf of the company, just like the marketing leader at the company. So,
with a lot that's going on, I appreciate you telling the audience and myself about that. With what's going on right now, 2025 has been crazy so far. The time this is coming out, right? It's gonna be February, things like that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that strategy when it comes to marketing, because right now, as we're recording this, TikTok was banned, but it's not banned. Now it's coming back and a whole bunch of other hoopla and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you feel marketing is right now when it comes to social media?
It's kind of evolving a little bit, especially with social media. It's evolving a little bit. I think the integration of AI is really kind of shaking things up a little bit. And I think it's going to be more and more important for people to be personable online, authentic, because at the end of the day, people don't want to trust artificial intelligence yet. There's a little bit of resistance there. So whether it's content that seems like it's made by AI and it uses the word fosters, you know what I mean? When like you use ChatGPT.
We don't get into all that.
Yeah, we can jump into that. There's like ways to tell if something's written by AI or not. But in any case, people kind of are a little bit more resistant to this sort of technology. They want to have real relationships with people. That's not going to go anywhere. So I made the story a couple weeks ago, actually. If people don't want to be replaced by AI, be authentic, be reliable, be trustworthy, put yourself out there, It's tough. You make yourself vulnerable when you do that and you speak your mind. But that's what people want. They just want like real relationships. So when it comes to social media, just being very personable. For brands like companies, this has been the case for years, to be personable, because people don't want to just listen to or hear from some sort of a corporate entity or a logo unless it behaves personably. So like think about like Twitter, when there's like a really funny tweet made by a company and it gets a lot of attention and it goes viral. That's something a person would say, not something a company would say in a corporate sort of sense. So that kind of authenticity is going to be really valued, especially in the near future. But in terms of process, like for me as a marketing leader, I'm looking at process, standard operating procedures for teams, how to build a team. A holistic strategy is going to be very important. So something that goes beyond social media, but incorporates social media in a meaningful way within the context of a holistic strategy. So amplifying, organic, that's going to be extremely important.
Love that you say that, because, okay, let's go into this, because there's a lot that you talked about there.
Sure.
I want to scale it back to where you said AI, right? Because a lot of folks want to use prompting, right?
Mm-hmm.
I use my prompting. You got to find the key search words. This is going to be like, I feel like a mini masterclass in a way.
Yeah.
But I use AI for like quick prompts, things like that, building, certain fancy titles, this and that, right? It's there. As a content creator, you got to figure it out, right?
Yeah. Yo, guys, what's going on? I appreciate you. Thank you. Turn on all bell notifications, subscribe, like, and comment to the podcast.
You need the brain to like think and act for you in that time frame, right? So my question to you is, because I hear a lot of folks using AI to like basically build a coaching program, build a book, and all this stuff. Can you speak to the pros and cons with that? Because I feel like you shouldn't be doing that.
Yes.
Because it's scraping all the internet and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Actually, it's really funny that you're asking me this right now, because I've been working on a coaching program for the last 8 months. And AI has been a big help. But I've seen other coaches put together a program leaning heavily on AI, like having the AI develop the content and then put things together and make it connect. There's a huge problem with this.
Okay, let's speak about that.
Yeah, so first of all, it's impersonal, right? It's like I, as a freelance marketing leader, I know what other freelance marketers are thinking, what keeps them up at night. And I know how to address that in the course material. I know what kind of language to use too, and all these different types of things. It's like actually tailored for them. In my program, I don't just talk about expertise like marketing jargon. I'm talking about mindset. I'm coaching them through imposter syndrome. I'm coaching them through, manifesting a new reality as a leader and taking on more accountability and leveraging, capital and labor and product, whether that's media or code or AI. So this kind of coaching, you're not going to get this from an AI developed program because it's just going to make something that's kind of vague and similar to everything else that it's making based on what people are asking. When it comes to like prompting, there's something called prompt engineering. Think of it like this way. When you are training your AI, it's almost like you hired somebody on your team and you're training them. So you want them to understand what your thought process is. You want them to kind of adopt your mindset, but you also want to see how you can facilitate, its own sort of mindset. So you ask it questions like, hey, this is my goal. This is my objective. Based on what you know, ask me 20 questions that's going to help you do your job better. And this is what I need to get done. So it's kind of like collaboration. You're not telling AI what you want. Make me a program for fractional CMOs and yada, yada, yada. It's like an iterative process where you've hired somebody, you're onboarding them. They understand you a little bit better and you understand how it operates a little bit better. And then you kind of meet in the middle and you actually start working together, literally like a person. So when you're prompting artificial intelligence, like, ChatGPT, Perplexity, whatever you're using, it really comes down to treating it as an employee or a virtual assistant or a junior marketing strategist. And then you can actually have like better quality output when you kind of prompt engineer. You don't just ask it to do something for you and take it and copy paste it and that's that. But like you leverage the amount of information that has been, put into this AI, this LLM, large language model, and you like incorporate it or integrate it into whatever you're working on, whether it's a social media strategy or a program or anything.
No, I love that. You hear that, folks? Listen to what Baron just said. Stop just putting the whole entire prompt into there and then building your whole programs, because I see it happen all the time.
Yeah.
And I can see it. And you know what? The sad reality is on Instagram, when people type out their whole ChatGPT prompts and they copy and paste it, it has all the little asterisks and they don't delete it out. I've seen businesses do this.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here and I'm like, do y'all not proofread your stuff?
Yeah, seriously.
Like, proofread your stuff, make sure it's strategic enough. So it's like going, because if I'm reading this and I'm like, where did you get this from? Mm-hmm. Who's your editor? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, hey, hence, get Grammarly, folks. Clean up everything you need to do. Yeah. It's on our mobile phones and whatnot. Told you, I came here to cook today and all that good stuff. So with 2025, marketing, these businesses, how do they stay resilient? Give us your number one tip of like how they can stay resilient amongst of all this change and stuff.
They gotta adapt. Sometimes they gotta pivot. This is kind of like let's talk about actually a growth mindset as it may pertain to a business and at an individual level. Because I think there's a formula for growth. And especially when it comes to a business, so it's really interesting you're asking, especially when it comes to a business, it's not one person who's making the decisions. The accountability is kind of spread between leadership and management, so it becomes a little bit more convoluted. How do you facilitate a growth mindset in a business?
Well, we're getting into that, right? See, I'm getting goosebumps because we had this conversation on the phone.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. But keep going.
We touched on it. So when it comes down to it, as a business, we kind of opt for stability, a little bit more stability, because we need to have people working. We need to get that, revenue. We have to have our margins. It needs to be predictable. It needs to be safe. When you go into
these words,
safe, exactly,
quote unquote.
Ironically, you stay safe, and then it's very unsafe to not adapt, right? Instability, there's more uncertainty involved, more risk, but there's the potential for growth. On an individual level, stepping outside of our comfort zone, right? On a more business, like, organizational level, it's about progress. So doing what you need to do to move forward. Oftentimes, people in businesses, they'll get stuck in this sort of illusion of progress. I'll talk about an individual example because people can probably relate to this one. You're working a 9 to 5 and you want to transition into your own business. What's the way to do that? Maybe you start a side hustle. You should be putting a little bit more time into your side hustle. But instead, you're like, you know what? Your house is already pretty tidy. You're like, I'm going to clean my house, make sure it's spotless. I have people coming over on Friday. Let me just clean the house. You spend 2 hours cleaning the house. It's 9 p.m. You sit on the couch. I've cleaned my house. I'm tired, but I cleaned my house. I feel accomplished. So this is good. I'll work on the business later. Or you go to the gym for 2.5 hours, right? At the end of the day, you use your last bit of energy to go to the gym. Or on a Saturday, Sunday, you could be locked in. But it's like, no, before I go out with my friends, I want to go to the gym and look good, right? So you go to the gym, instead of spending an hour at the gym, you spend 2.5 hours, maybe 3. And you justify it. No, steam room's healthy. I just wanted a shower at the gym. It's cool, right? And you feel really productive, but it's this illusion of progress. Because at the end of the day, you have your goals and you didn't actually get closer to where you want to be, but you did something and it made you feel good. And people don't realize that they're doing this. And businesses also don't realize that they're doing this because it's a compilation, just like a bunch of people who are coming together, sitting in boardrooms, and they're like, okay, well, we got this done. But did it really move the needle? Maybe it saved you some costs, but now you have all of your competitors that are integrating AI into their search engine optimization, and you're stuck behind trying to figure out what do we do with our rankings that are decreasing on Google, and we're getting less visibility, and now we're fucked. Right? So businesses do this, people do this, they get caught in these cycles. And let's talk about why these cycles actually happen.
Let's talk about it.
How do
but
people
before
even
we go
get
there,
here?
why the cycles happen? Because what's coming up for me, and I think a lot of folks that work in like the deep corporate world,
Yes.
could be retail, could be
Yeah.
banking, whatever, real estate,
Yeah.
is that there's a lot of, do I want to say virtue signaling?
You can?
I think you can say that.
Yeah.
And I say that very heavily in a lot of things, but I feel like they never want to rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
Because it's a level of, oh, we make money. This is what we do. This is our policy. This is our principles. And this is how we get things done.
Yes.
And back, oh my God, we're going now 2.5, 3 years. David
Okay.
Averin.
Yes.
I'll post that. I'll repost that actual episode before this comes out again, because he's big into customer service.
Yeah.
And he said that sometimes the brands are not always right,
Yes.
because your own policies can end up infringing on your own personal beliefs.
Yeah.
And this is what you see constantly happen. I know folks are saying, how can you just sit on your square right here in this chair, right, and just say all these things? And the reason why I can is because it's the truth. But nobody wants to have these conversations to speak the truth because they think it's coming from you have to police what you say.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't have to police what you say.
Yes.
Because I can say this.
Yeah.
Because I have no fear, because what I'm saying is the truth.
Yep.
And if you don't like the truth, how are you going to embrace change?
Yep.
But go back to you, my man.
You know what? You brought up something really interesting, and this is kind of how everything connects. There's an aspect of identity, right? You just talked about, how a corporation speaks or whatever. So let's actually move back a little. Beliefs. People and businesses have beliefs about themselves. So I have beliefs about myself. A business will have beliefs about itself. The people in the business will have beliefs about the business. Our thoughts, our actions, they are founded on these beliefs. A series of beliefs that are validated, they create patterns, whether they're thought patterns or behavioral patterns. The corporate speak, the corporate behavior, the corporate world. There are beliefs that form these patterns. A series of these behavioral or thought patterns create personalities. So brands have personalities, people have personalities. I am the type to do this. when that happens? If you believe so, not necessarily. This is how our brand should react when X happens. According to who? These are just beliefs. A series of validated beliefs result in patterns, and a series of patterns creates personalities. Personalities coalesce into an identity. This is who I am. This is what I do. A business will kind of have this at scale, the same sort of thing. There's a business identity, a brand identity, they call it, based on personalities founded on behavioral and thought patterns, which, result from a series of beliefs. How this relates to the stability versus instability dilemma. This is how businesses and people are going to be able to grow when there is a lot of instability, a lot of change, AI really changing things. Marketing landscape really evolves very quickly. A lot of these things, that we're in a world that is changing faster than it's ever changed before. A lot of evolution. So there is a dilemma, the stability versus instability dilemma. This is really interesting. Like I said, stability is safety, certainty, predictability. Instability is uncertainty, risk, but the potential for growth. So we have to balance stability and instability. But a lot of people, they have this sort of scarcity mindset, and they're choosing between stability or instability. So our company is either going to do this or that, or I'm going to have a 9-to-5 or start a business. I'm going to invest in my business or start planning my wedding. These are like either or. What we need to do is adopt a more abundance mindset, and it becomes an and mentality. I'm going to work my 9-to-5, and I'm going to side hustle. I'm going to get some clients, and I'm going to have a conversation with my boss. I'm going to say, hey, you know what? I know we need each other right now. I'm going to be honest with you. I have this side hustle, but I want to continue working here, and I know you need me. You've already trained me. I'm going to be here, and if you don't mind, I want to continue working on my thing. Maybe I can work part-time. You can have this and that. And then you scale your business, get one more client, and you can start to plan your transition. You grow your business, you can invest in your business, and you can plan your wedding, right? Like
you're speaking from your point of view.
Well, because with the wedding
because you're
part,
engaged.
I'm engaged.
Yeah, I love that you just did all that.
Yeah, I'm past the transition, but a lot of my target audience, they're marketers who want to ascend into a leadership role.
Smart.
So this is like my way of explaining to them, don't think about this or that. It's about having that and mentality. Because ultimately, what is the formula for a growth mindset?
Well,
I'll explain it to you. This is actually quite interesting because it integrates this stability versus instability dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
Stability is permanence. So when you have stability and you have permanence, you don't have temporary, you have permanence. The result is stagnation. You're not doing anything outside of your comfort zone. You're working your 9-to-5, you're going home, you're making dinner, you're watching Netflix, you're going to bed. Which is cool, for a period of time, and a lot of people actually want that, and that's totally fine.
If you want to be lazy, though, that's my personal.
If you want to stagnate,
spectrum, yeah.
If you want to stagnate,
you want to retire at the good old age of what 60, 64, 65.
Exactly.
And that's the life you want to live. It's a boring life.
Potentially uncomfortably. We're seeing how inflation is eating away at people's retirement right now.
That part.
Right?
That part.
When you have stability and temporary, that's when you actually have growth.
Mm-hmm.
To contrast, when you have instability and permanence, you have trauma because you're permanently unstable. And when you have instability and temporary, you have stress.
Jesus.
Because you're a little
masterclass.
You're a little stressed. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
You're a little stressed out about what's going on right now. The 9-to-5, it's taking up my time and energy. I got the side hustle. I got to go to the gym as well. This is a lot, a lot to balance. But I understand that this is just, a way forward. And for me to actually be able to integrate the temporary into my life in a stable way, I just have to stick with my goals for long enough to integrate them. So instead of working on your side hustle for 3-4 hours a night while you're working your 9 to 5 during the day, integrate it appropriately.
Facts.
Work 30 minutes, a day, or like an hour every other night. On a weekend, put in a couple hours. Because what happens when you have stability and also temporary, so you've integrated that temporary into your life in a stable way, you have compounded growth over a broader time horizon. So over the course of a year, you're 1% better every day. You're a different person by the end of the year.
You're taking my whole tagline. This man took my tagline. 1% better every day. I love that. I feel like everyone's doing it now, but it's all good.
Yeah.
Can't trademark that phrase because it's next to impossible. But no, keep going on.
Well, that's pretty much like, that's the stability versus instability dilemma. So going back to, how people on an individual level have to kind of integrate this, how a leader, integrates this into their team in a corporate environment, you just got to let people know, guys, there's things that are changing. We're going to try to test a few things. We're going to integrate new systems, and we're going to see if we can, yield better results. So you try this, you try that, you encourage them. There might be some mistakes. Some things might be costly, but it's okay because you're moving forward. And it's not the illusion of progress. You're not doing the same thing that you've done before and expecting something different. You're actually evolving your strategy to suit the changing needs of the landscape, whether that's the marketing landscape or the business landscape. You just integrate temporary with stability, and that's how you get compounded growth over time.
That growth word, because I think a lot of corporations want to bring the entrepreneurship mindset into their ecosystem, but they're afraid because they know that they're running down a slippery slope. Because how you present it to some folks that don't understand entrepreneurship, because one of the most confusing things to some folks, because some people are slave to a 9 to 5, which is nothing wrong to that. But if you're wanting to have, a growth of streamlining your income, you can do that in a 9 to 5, but you'll have more success as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Not a serial entrepreneur we're talking about, folks, but as an entrepreneur, that's streamlining business, coaching, podcasting, brand deals, things like that. Just giving three specific points right there. That's how anyone that's coming into the space is going to be able to monetize, and then adding all the other areas of maybe a book. Then you get your book sales and you go on tour and then you get guest spots on a podcast. Yep. You see what I'm saying? It's all like rinse and repeat. But I think a lot of folks hear that and it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's the inability in themselves. They don't feel like they have it because they're so pressed because I still got to work this 9 to 5. Me and Baron are not saying we both are encouraging everyone to be an entrepreneur, but the ones that want to do it right. Yeah. Don't just quit your job. You're sitting here, you're making like 50, 60,000 a year. Oh, I want to be an entrepreneur, but you don't have no base. You don't have the ability to pay your bills for the last like 6 months up to a year, things like that, right? Having all areas covered. Or maybe you're dating somebody, or maybe you're married to someone that can maybe take up a lot of the physical tasks and things like that. This is life. It happens,
So that's, there's a sense of imposter syndrome that happens. I'll speak, for example, in my case, I am sort of an intrapreneur for hire and an entrepreneur. I'm like an entrepreneur that comes into a business and adopts this entrepreneurial mindset, and I facilitate this, and I mentor the marketing department to think a certain way, and they innovate internally. And they have incentives for innovating. So this is kind of intrapreneurship. This is bringing entrepreneurship into a business. At the same time, I'm an entrepreneur, right? Because outside of like the fractional CMO work I do for my clients, I also have my own businesses. There's PAR5 hard seltzer. I'd love to talk about that as well at some point, actually. It's a health-conscious hard seltzer being sold right now, distributed across North America. It's got 0 grams of sugar, no awful aftertaste. Right now, we just finished developing our preservative-free formula, which is really cool. Only 96 calories a can. So we have this vision, me and my partners. They came to me. They're like, hey, we need somebody to help us with marketing. And they realized I can bring more to the table. And they decided, to give me equity. And so we co-founded the company together. So I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm also working on this program. So that's also entrepreneurial. But I wouldn't necessarily label myself one or the other, because I come into businesses as a freelance person working in the business and kind of facilitating this entrepreneurial mindset as an intrapreneur. So at the end of the day, there's two aspects to that sort of growth, right? Let's say somebody is working a 9 to 5 and they're kind of capped. They're making, 50, 60K, and it's a little hard for them to ascend right now and to invest in themselves, because we're in Toronto, it's expensive here. So how do you grow? Whether you are an entrepreneur and you go off on your own, or you become an intrapreneur at the company you work at, and you increase your perceived value of having you on board, you get paid more. Ultimately, here's how you do it. It comes down to leverage. Because what we want to do is we want to separate ourselves from, we want to separate our outputs from our inputs. In order for us to have more time, it's the most precious, scarce, resource that we actually have is time, not money. Time dwindling away, right? So this is our most precious resource. In order for us to be able to get more time, work less, and make more money simultaneously, we have to detach ourselves from our output. In order for us to do that, we need to have specific knowledge, which is knowledge or expertise that can't be easily commoditized. You can't have AI replace you in doing something, because this requires your own sort of human touch. As a marketing leader, for example, people need me because I motivate them, I empower them, I inspire them. That's a very human thing. When it comes to looking at data sets and deciding what to do from a marketing strategy standpoint, AI can probably do that. So eventually that's going to, from a marketing leadership standpoint, that part is going to be pretty easy to automate. But when it comes to me sitting down and actually coaching the marketing directors I work with, and working through things with the team, checking in with them every morning at 9, asking them, how are you doing on a scale of 1 to 5? They give me a 2 for a couple days in a row. I know something's wrong. So I decide to sit with them and have a chat. This is human. You're not going to do this with AI, right? So that specific knowledge is having that kind of niche expertise, capability. The second thing beyond specific knowledge is accountability. So the more accountability you're able to take on, the more you are rewarded with equity and leverage. So people value you more because you're able to prove that you can do more with whatever it is that you leverage, with your specific knowledge, with your capital, labor, your product. And accountability requires you to put your name and reputation on the line, right? So yes, my name is Baron. I'm not hiding behind some brand name or anything like that. you know what I mean? Like this is me. I come in, I am accountable for all of my results, whether they're good or bad.
Facts.
And I communicate this. I set the expectation with, the other stakeholders, with leadership, with the team. Guys, we're going to try this out. It might not work, right? We don't know what's in store for us. AI is changing things, but we're going to give this a go. If we hit it out of the park, great. If we don't, we're going to try again in a different way. So being accountable for all of the decisions and actions you take, the more accountability you can take on, the more you will be rewarded with equity and more leverage. So companies will be like, oh, you know what? He's a really good account manager. Let's promote him into a senior strategist role. And then he's a really good senior strategist. Let's promote him into a, fractional, like a CMO role or something along those lines. And this is how you can move up, is by taking on more accountability, having more specific knowledge, taking on more accountability, and then being able to use leverage effectively, right?
Love
so
that.
It could be leveraging people, in a team environment can be leveraging capital, the way that you're able to distribute money in order to turn $1 into 3 and more. And it could be like media, product. If you can learn how to use AI really well, that's leverage, right? It allows you to do more, but free up your time. So you detach yourself from your output. And that's essentially the premise of like scalable wealth building.
Facts.
Yeah.
Why do you think, let's talk businesses. Why do businesses lack accountability when it comes down to their overall offering in like what they're trying to present out to the general public?
They're not listening to the market. They might not be really even listening to their employees. I see this top-down leadership a lot. It's a huge red flag for me when I see it too. Dude, I have worked with clients that have paid me really well, and I have decided to not work with them anymore.
Oh, wow.
Because it's like, I just don't see a future here. There's a misalignment in values. Thank God I get to choose who I work with. But, you know, that's happened before. I've seen these red flags. I've tried to, you know, make decisions or like communicate on behalf of the team. Here's what the overall sentiment is. And sometimes leadership doesn't listen, and these companies don't really make it.
Is it a level of just because they think they're making billions and billions of dollars that they don't have to change their actual byproduct?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes it's just, you know, I was actually having this conversation with people that I'm mentoring last week. I'm in this group of other marketing leaders, and they were asking me about the program that I'm putting together and what's different about this versus other programs that are on the market. And I told them one of the main differences is mindset, because I think it's extremely important for us as leaders to be very self-aware, to be in a very good headspace, to have a very strong understanding of, you know, how we would feel about various domains in our life. If you are a leader and your relationship is really unstable, that is going to seep into your work. You might get frustrated at home and come to work, you know, in the morning or get on a Zoom call, and you are not in the right headspace, and you are going to talk at your team. So as leaders, it's really important for us to have this very like proper, holistic understanding of ourselves and to develop ourselves holistically. So I was explaining to them that, you know, this is how the program is a little bit different. And they said, you know, they all thought this was amazing because they've seen from other CEOs they've worked with or COOs, or even in themselves, they've noticed this. And I've noticed this in myself, you know, before actually doing some life coaching with Zark and his Wheel of Life, which is absolutely incredible. In case anybody's watching Zark, he's a life coach here also in Toronto. He does this Wheel of Life exercise where you rate your life across 12 domains, and you put it on a wheel, and it makes you see how, you know, well-rounded your life is or what's throwing you off balance.
Interesting.
And people don't, you know, we all have thoughts. We're all intelligent, but we don't have a framework for compartmentalizing our thoughts and understanding how this will impact us in our day-to-day.
Oh, now we're podcasting, ladies and gentlemen. The man said a framework.
Yeah.
Jeez, okay.
No, these are important.
Yeah.
So when you have leaders, especially bigger corporation, when you have more leaders, you have multiple VPs and multiple directors, you know, a regional VP of marketing in Europe, and then a VP of marketing in North America. You have more leaders, and if this sort of culture isn't instilled in a corporation where it's like, hey guys, let's take care of ourselves, you know, let's make sure that we're all, you know, living a holistic life, and we can all be accountable for our positions and what we have to do, accountable for our results, but also self-care. If that's not part of the corporate culture and it's all work results, it's going to come crashing down.
I'm going to bite back just a little bit because you speak about self-care, which I feel like goes into the lens of work-life balance.
Yeah.
And then all this other things about managing burnout. And I feel like, again, it's more virtual signaling that happens. Mm-hmm. And I know some folks are going to, I know my guys that watch this are going to be like, dude, why are you saying this? But it's the truth. Because we both understand, like I understand when you see these frameworks come out about, oh, Managing burnout and work-life balance, there's no such thing. Geographically, there's no such thing. Because you look at all of your holidays in a full calendar year, right? Ideally, you get maybe one traditional day off in a month, right? Like if you just want to do the estimation. But then a lot of it's just work. Then you're wanting to simply sit here and maybe schedule time off, and you can't schedule time off because this is going on, because the corporation is not allowing you to schedule the time off. So it's like, how are you going to position all of these things and then maybe use it as a psyop? Because the ones that actually know and forward thinking are looking at you like, this is BS. You don't care about work-life balance. What we're here to do is just work, collect our paycheck, get our biweekly. It is what it is. I know some folks are going to say is, oh, well, are you bitter? No, these are the facts. That's why entrepreneurs know the game. Yeah. We know what's going on. We do our due diligence. We hire the coaches. We get the mentors. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, there's endless amounts of options out there to just learn things. Yeah. Learn what's going on. You know what I mean? Pick up your audibles, get your audiobooks, ask friends, go on social media, poll your social media. What are some good books? I can almost guarantee you there's a man or there's a woman that is on your Instagram that will give you a recommendation. Yeah. Trust me, I have lots. Like if I went through my other phone here and we actually start scrolling through, you'll see all the audiobooks that I tap into. Yeah. Now, have I finished all of them? No, because life happens. Life be lifing, life be lifing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really important. You're right. A lot of these frameworks, I guess they're not implemented properly, or people just do it because they feel like it's, they're doing their due diligence, but they're not going about it the right way. I'll give you actually an example. I have to consider that I have to give everyone on my teams, I work with multiple teams, 7 teams, I have to make sure that everyone has enough time to think creatively or strategically during work hours, not at home. During the work day, they have to have some time to think creatively and strategically. So I'm not going to tell the director of project management, hey, make sure everyone is at 80% capacity plus, or we need to make some job cuts, or we're not hiring until people are at 80% plus capacity. People need time to think. That takes time. To think creatively, to think strategically, that takes time. If people are like over capacity or at a certain level of capacity, they don't have time. It's going to reflect in their work. It's going to reflect in the sentiment. They're going to start thinking, I don't really want to work here. I think I want to work somewhere else where people are going to value my time and creativity a little bit more. So, but that's the thing. Like, it's just very transactional for a lot of companies. And so even when it comes to like resource allocation frameworks, I'm not even talking about mindset or wellness. I'm talking about just the basic project management resource allocation frameworks. No, having people work at a certain level of capacity may not necessarily be good.
It's getting 120 to 150,000 right, per year, and we just sit pretty.
Yeah.
Hey, just do your job, make us money, and we go back to what we need to go to. Have a staff meeting, do all of this stuff, but it's like peel the layers back.
Yeah.
And actually look and see why as a business you're failing. And embrace the failure. Don't hide it. Don't mask it because you put these percentages out there for your new clientele to come in and buy because it seems like everyone's doing that.
Yeah.
And I feel like I would love to just go into the research of like, who started that?
Yeah.
Who really did the whole, let's give you a certain percentage off of your first purchase? Because I feel like that's an entrepreneur mindset, no? Doesn't that not come from the entrepreneur?
Yeah,
so it's like, if you want to take from the entrepreneur, you got to embrace the entrepreneur. You know what I mean? And things like that.
Here's something interesting. I talk about this in the program. The whole concept of the program is, I think that the last thing that the world needs is another agency.
Okay.
Another digital marketing agency.
Ooh, okay.
I think the problem is that there's so many digital marketing agencies starting left, right, and center. Somebody's starting an agency from their grandma's basement or something. I don't know. And it's a race to the bottom. So everyone's undercutting each other on price. You don't have, really good quality talent working on the deliverables, the campaigns. No one's given time to think creatively and strategically. That's not accounted for in the margin. They're thinking X amount of hours to do the work, Y dollars per hour. So, here's the cost. And so the result is this race to the bottom where all these agencies are competing on price and every business is getting burned. This website is supposed to cost $10K. Why isn't it what I wanted? Because you paid $10K for a website, dude.
That's a cookie cutter from Squarespace.
Yeah, like you could get a decent website for $10K, but not what you wanted.
No, get somebody to handcraft that.
Yeah.
As long as they're understanding what the parallels of computer programming is.
Exactly.
You know what I mean, or
Yeah.
IT, because there's so many different ways. I just want to pick up right there. There's so many things that you can actually use.
Yeah.
So many folks are being overcharged for Squarespace, $10K, when you could get someone that used either Python or Tailwinds to just build what they need to build.
Yeah.
And some people are going to say, wait, how do you know about those? Because I have folks that are in tech that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Good conversation. I have a guy that I want to introduce you to and whatnot, because just with everything with the coding and things like that. Shout outs to Williams K. All right, follow his channel and all that. Friend of mine, he's brilliant with what he does, and he can look at your actual website and be like, oh, that's on old technology, that's on old software.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, put me in front of these people and ask them, like, yo, are you ready to invest into your business?
Yeah.
And the thing is, a lot of folks be sitting on old foundation.
Yeah.
And then they wonder, when it's on old foundation, why does it just start sleeping away?
But the bigger problem is that when they're ready to evolve and grow, there's 1 or 2 agencies that will know what to do, and then 7 or 8 agencies that will kind of just try to do the bare minimum and take the most.
So you mean like pumping everything back into Google Ads? Is that what you're trying to say?
Like, they'll say, yeah, we can do the website you want.
Yeah.
They'll charge $10K.
Yeah.
And then they'll create a website that's like not really up to par.
Told you, that's Squarespace.
And this is the same thing with paid ads. If you underpay for advertising on Google, on social media, if you underpay for search engine optimization, this is a classic. Underpaying for SEO. You hire an agency for like $1,000, $1,500, maybe $2,000. They'll get AI to write all the content. It's going to be vague. Google knows it's AI. They're going to get really low quality backlinks, and it's not really going to help, your domain authority. And what's going to happen is you're going to spend $1,500, $2,000 every single month on SEO, another $2,000, $3,000 on Google Ads. Someone's going to have the audacity to tell you that you can run Google Ads with a $500 monthly budget. Okay? You're going to believe them because 2 other agencies said the same thing to you, and you're going to get burned. Your money is going to go into a black hole. It's just going to go into these the pockets of these people, and you're not going to get anything for your business because you're underpaying for marketing. So I think the last thing the world needs is another agency. I think that what the world actually needs is more competent, calm, and collected marketing leadership. People who know what needs to be done. They work on behalf of the businesses in the businesses. As a freelancer, part-time, they're working in the business, not just advising or consulting. They're hands-on. They're having meetings with the marketing team. They're accountable for the performance. They're meeting with the CEO. They're like, okay, here's what's going on. Here's what we actually need to do. You know what? We shouldn't hire this agency or that agency. What we actually need to do, we need to bring social media management in-house. We need to maybe teach them how to run paid ads on Facebook and Instagram. So we use that resource. And then let's outsource SEO for now. We'll work with this agency. No, I'm sorry, $3,000 is not enough. Can you make room for $4,500 in your marketing budget? Okay, great. We're going to hire this agency. They're going to do good work, and this is how we're going to, generate results for the business. I think that's what businesses need, and so that's why I started the Mindful Marketer program. It's to get calm, collected, competent freelance marketing leadership. It's to get the marketers that are currently working out at businesses and maybe working out at agencies right now feeling burnout, because their time and creativity is not valued like we discussed. It's to help them ascend into a new role, to understand the mindset, the expertise that they need to grow, give them the framework so that they can have a seamless like career, and to give them a community so that, they're not doing this alone. They can bounce ideas off one another, and to help them unlock time, freedom, and income potential on their own terms and without overhead. Like, that sounds kind of like a no-brainer for a marketer right now. So, yeah.
There's a lot there because, with the whole paid ads. And here I'll say this, because you have some of the big real estate gurus. I'm not talking about in the city. I'm talking about in the world, right? That you will see have their conferences. And to advertise for their conferences, they push out a lot of money. And they put out, because there's you just have to do the research, folks. They'll push out anywhere between 100K to 200K. But they know what they're getting back. Because that's coming to getting to my conference, that's coaching, that's a whole bunch of stuff. So when I hear some people say is, I'm not paying 10K for a coaching course. Why not? Because you don't what? Because it's the number? Is it because it's the number? But you have to also look at who is the person behind that. So I have my life coaching background, right? There was three tiers in the space of 2020 pandemic season. And Dr. Eric Thomas was a 2,500, 5,000, and there was a 15,000 option. The 15,000 option I wanted to pull the trigger on it. The reason why I didn't is because the unexpectancy of what the hell is going on with the pandemic. So I went with the mid-tier version. And some folks will, what did the other version have? It's like in-house coaching, this and that. But we were at a standstill. But I paid into my research and development and things like that, which is like now the podcast is free software. It's free, free software, free information, free all of that.
Media leverage.
There you go, right? Media leverage. This is how you clean that up. And I think what you see is a lot of folks don't want to pay to invest in themselves. Businesses don't want to pay to bring people in. Because it's like, again, goes back to what we said in the podcast. If I mentally timestamping this was like maybe 15, 20 minutes ago, some folks feel like, if I have to bring somebody into the business, it's not going to be our bottom overhead of what it is we're trying to do. Because they're going to come in, give us this strategic approach. But guess what? We go in our financial back end, it shows you that we made this much quarterly. And it's like, well, wait, what? Like, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. So it's like, folks what we're trying to say is this. We may sound like we're spicy, but it's like, understand what you want out of life when it comes to your business or even personalized development. Invest. All of the guys that you see on Instagram, I can start throwing out the names from Earn Your Leisure. They have a pretty amazing brand of what they're doing. And those guys are giving like sauce, which sometimes I'm like, I feel like y'all are giving away too much. But you can see they're being selfless instead of selfish. Right? Or you have other coaches that are on the Instagram. Like a lot of folks love Alex Hormozy and his wife. And things like that. I think his wife, I'm not trying to be whatever here. I know a lot of people might come for me. I think his wife got a little bit more like thunder with some of the stuff she be saying.
Honestly, I agree.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
His wife be coming like,
She's like very well spoken.
Yeah. Like I shared one of her videos one time, and deadass, she actually reshared the video. I was like, I didn't know you were gonna reshare the video. But I don't know if it was her or maybe the team or whatever. But it's like you see that they're humans. It's not like fake. It's not like, oh, let me just look at the DM and see like whatever. And things like that. So
what's funny actually? Alex, he's like on the extreme side sometimes with some of the things that he says. Like, for example, he says, like, lock in for a year. Don't worry about your friends. If your friends are holding you back, like, forget about them. Just, like, focus on the business. Get dialed in, He's got, like, that, like, very extreme mentality. Layla Hormozy, she's, like, a little bit more, fluid. Abundance mentality. You can have this and that as long as you integrate it, like, in a good way. So, my fiance, like, we share videos with each other. Like, sometimes when we see videos of other entrepreneurs or thought leaders. So she's shared a bunch of videos of Layla with me, and I've watched a bunch of videos on my own just to kind of understand her thought process. Yeah, I agree. That's actually interesting that you brought that up.
All the guys, like, here's the thing is, not too much Alex.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have Alex's audiobook. I come from the school of, like, Gary Vee, Dr. Eric Thomas, E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher, and Layla Hormozi. I can now put in that mix. And that's really it for me. Yeah. Because it's like, and I talked about Earn Your Leisure and things like that. And there's other, like, podcasts I listen to. But it's like, you listen to what those folks are saying, not to regurgitate necessarily all their talking points, but it's a different perspective.
Yes.
So sometimes what you're thinking, you just want someone else to say.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And then you use that as knowledge where you're like, okay, that's a critical point, this and that, blah, 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 blah. I hope she writes a book, Layla Hormozi, because I'd be like front center. Pull up to Toronto. Like, why not? You know what I mean? Let's get you in the studio if you hear this. You know?
It can like reinforce your thoughts, or it can give you an idea of, you know, maybe I don't exactly agree, but here's my take on this, and you kind of form your own opinion. So something that's interesting, I guess I want to tie what you're saying with the program and like you've taken a program, you've paid a pretty penny for it, it's given you value, it's made you more capable, it's given you specific knowledge, and now you can leverage that specific knowledge. In my case, there was the whole reason I even started the Mindful Marketer program, aside from the fact that I think the world needs more competent marketing leadership. Initially, I just wanted to contribute by being that competent marketer. So I took a program. I spent $11,500 USD for 7 months. It's a pretty penny. And I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't like the program. I thought, you know what, I can do way better than this. There's so much missing information here. This teaches people how to become a glorified project manager and use Excel spreadsheets to do a bunch of stuff. It doesn't really teach people how to have the mindset, the appropriate mindset. It doesn't teach people like proper leadership. It teaches you how to communicate with stakeholders, but it doesn't teach you how to communicate with your team and give them tender, loving care. So I decided, you know what? And this brought me here. Doing that made me realize that there's an area of opportunity. I just need to create a program the way that I see fit, and it's going to attract people who, you know, want to embody that as well. But if there's anything that program did give me for $11,500, it's the confidence to know that I'm not missing anything. I'd pay $11,500 for that again. You know what I mean? As ridiculous as that sounds, dude, I'm serious, right? It gave me the confidence. And so now I'm doing this because I did that. So that's number one. And number two, you know what? We can even tie this to imposter syndrome, because you've been learning from thought leaders. I've been learning from thought leaders. You know, our thoughts are formed through our beliefs. Our beliefs are self-imposed. Whether or not you think you can, you are right. Right? Because your thoughts shape your reality. This is almost the mechanism of manifestation too, from a tactical standpoint. Our thoughts are dictated by our beliefs. Our beliefs are self-imposed. The thing is, our beliefs come from somewhere or someone. So when we're growing up, we don't always have the ability to discern meaning, or we don't have the ability to explain something that we see, hear, feel, taste, or touch. So we will take somebody else's explanation instead. I don't know, God willed it so. Really? Or this is just the way things are. This is impossible. Rich people are greedy. Poor people are lazy. Hard work breeds success. You have to be smart. These are beliefs. Are they right? Are they wrong? They're beliefs. There's somebody else's opinions that they project out into the world, seeking for validation so that they don't think they're crazy for thinking it.
But they're also cookie cutter too.
They're cookie cutter as heck.
Yeah, they're very.
And we have a choice whether or not we want to adopt these beliefs or not. And that is sort of, when it comes to, having imposter syndrome, you may be very capable and there's, evidence of it. You may be very smart, very intelligent. You're just not doing, what you want to be doing yet or what you think you can be doing. But there's something that's holding you back from actually doing it. You're spending all this time and energy trying to visualize who you can be in 1 year rather than remembering a future in which you have already achieved all of the goals that you have set out to achieve now. There's a difference, but it's the same. Visualizing, remembering, it's kind of the same thing. But when you remember, you believe you've achieved. When you visualize, you believe you haven't yet. That's kind of the mechanism of manifestation. And it's all because of these underlying beliefs that you have. And so our beliefs are coming from somewhere. We have a choice. Do we adopt these beliefs or no? And ultimately, we think, why was their belief not as good as mine? You want to use the word was to disarm and reprogram your mind. Why is my belief now better than theirs was?
Facts.
You want to use the word is to reprogram your mind, right?
Now we podding again. Now we podding. I like that.
And so that helps you overcome imposter syndrome because, am I really cut out for this? I am.
It goes back to the old way of looking at, so many folks will say, like, I can't start that podcast or I can't post on social media. I'm like, can't? I was like, and there's been times, I'm big into social audio, and I'll say to folks, especially if we have a rapport built, I'd be like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean don't do that? I said, don't say I can't. It's you will.
Yes.
And you're going to.
Yes.
Oh, wow. And you can hear them, like, they get kind of taken back about it. And it's like, you're getting taken back because you may have not had someone ever call you out on that.
Yeah.
Because now it speaks to having the wrong folks that are around you. As you level up, and this is something I've learned podcasting, you look at just the amount of different abundance of guests that you have. A lot of folks are, what's the word I'm looking for? They are allergic to intelligent, stimulating conversations. You notice here, we're not talking about throwing people underneath the bus.
Right.
Everything is just about, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. But see, some folks will be like, well, we're speaking about corporations. No, we're not throwing them underneath the bus. It's saying, this is what you need to start doing. Figure it out to see success.
Yeah.
And I think when you're allergic to intelligence, it's because you're coming from a space where you may not know how to be forward thinking yourself as an individual, because you're okay opening up your phone, doom scrolling like I like to talk about, or you're on these urban sites looking up the trending topic of like Diddy and the Diddy news and things like that.
Yeah,
it's exciting to talk about, or Drake's lawsuit with the content creators and all this. It's fun to talk about.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting here in a space and you're having stimulating conversations, the mic doesn't even have to be there.
Yeah.
Understand what you can learn about yourself when you get out of that conversation.
Yeah.
So I'll say this to folks. When I go back to this podcast, I have to listen back to this podcast because there's a lot of gems that are there that I'm hearing, but it hasn't processed yet. So when I watch it back, I'm going to be like, Baron said this. And then I'm going to have to basically, streamline it and be like, yo, that's something that we can probably build on to down the road, because it's not going to be your first time coming on the show.
Thank you.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I appreciate it because it's like the warm, welcoming ability of just what you're bringing. And I think if folks listen with the lens to understand, not coming from a preconceived notion, you'll be able to understand in life what it is you want to do and how you want to get there if you want it. We're not saying everyone has to be a flipping entrepreneur or a content creator. But if you want better for yourself, seek it.
Yes.
All the greats do it. I was telling one of my friends on voice audio, I was saying, look, I only talk about GOATs when it comes to sports now, right? I only talk about GOATs. Everybody criticizes Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, all these greats. I understand now. I'm not the biggest LeBron guy, but I've changed my caption on LeBron. LeBron's not a winner in my book, but he's a GOAT because he's super exceeded things.
Yeah.
So I have to give him those accomplishments and those accolades.
Yeah.
But when I hear folks criticize certain folks, I'm just like, do you not like winners in your life?
Mm-hmm.
Do you not want better for your life?
Yeah.
Like, you got to figure it out. But back to you, my friend.
People get sort of like resentful like, I'll give you an example. I work with corporations a lot because of my role.
Mm-hmm.
Who can afford a fractional CMO? Usually it's not a small business. It's a scale up or it's a mature company. So I work with corporations a lot, but I'm not a fan of bureaucracy. I'm not a fan of, office politics. That's why I don't like to be anywhere full time. I like to be freelance so I can be in a few places and do my thing. And, I get on a Zoom call. People are happy to see me, and that makes me very happy. We're not doing a daily stand up at 9. Like another freaking Zoom call.
I love that
at
you
9.
say that. I love that you say that.
Dude, I tell because this is something that was recommended in the program that I took, and it's the opposite of what I think people should be doing. So I tell everyone, don't do those. People hate them. But I don't like that sort of culture. However, I work with companies. I don't have any resentment towards corporate culture. I just try to facilitate a healthy corporate culture. So you used a very important word there. You said criticize. People are very quick to criticize rather than assessing and then deciding on how they're going to proceed, move forward, what they're going to say, how that's going to change their actions, how they can be in alignment with their values and live a life in integrity, right? So I totally agree. It's all about being open, right? Openness is the gateway to opportunity. You won't see opportunity if you are closed off to it. If you think, no, this definitely isn't the way, I'm going to do it this way. Well, just always be open to it, right? Again, it goes back to behavioral and thought patterns. If you do this and it doesn't work out, and you do this and it doesn't work out again, chances are if you do it again, it's not going to work out. But what if the first 2 times you failed, there were some important lessons, and the third time is going to be the charm, right?
You could even speak to ego and jealousy.
Yeah.
Which turns to envy in certain spaces and things like that, depending on how you look at it. Because I've learned that just as a content creator first, entrepreneur second, is that this world that we have put ourselves in comes a lot of great responsibility. Yeah. And you get pulled in certain different directions. You see it even in social media, right? I can speak as someone that's single. It's just, there's little times where you get drawn into little conversations and you see that the ones are listening to what it is you're saying, but they may see you out and they try to like spin a narrative.
Yeah.
You talk about, before we were recording this, about the alpha male and things like that. And that's a very, should I say, buzzword, I feel like, in society right now. We won't have to necessarily get into it, but it's like, you can't have and be a man's man. Say what it is you want to say out in this ecosystem of life without getting clipped up.
Yes.
And having people have, you're toxic masculinity. And there's no such thing. Toxic masculinity is not even, there's no definition for it.
Yeah.
You're going to find it on a site that's not official, you know what I mean, and things like that. But it's like, being a man in this world is as hard as it needs to be. But the thing is, there's things that we are looking to attain to that we can't have a low vibrational mindset.
Yes.
Anyone that you see in a podcast or you do your speaking gigs, and lately, I've been watching your stories and I'm like, this guy actually is great at what he's talking about.
Thank you.
Some of the stuff don't benefit me right now at the moment, but I'm just like, I'm listening because it's gems. You gotta be around people that are going to up your mindset.
Yes.
Your equilibrium, your IQ.
Yeah.
Because when you realize that this world and society, and there's a lot of people around us, have a low fucking IQ.
Yeah.
I mean, low as dirt. Like, you'll see that a lot of folks, like lately I'll get this. Are you an android? Are you a robot?
Just checking.
I'm like, no. And I'm just like, what I want to say is like, no, I'm not an android or a robot. It's because I know how to facilitate what it is I'm saying.
Yeah.
Honestly, you have a low IQ because it shows me that you're so stuck to the iPhone or the Android and you're having WhatsApp, iMessage conversations with no emotion. Yeah. You can't read emotion over words, right? So it's like, up your ante. If you're not the best communicator, do more listening.
Yeah.
Understand to someone, what do you mean? Like in conversations and debates, give some people free game here. I watch a lot of that stuff to see how things are going. And you'll hear some folks say, hey, can you peel the layers back on that? Uh-huh. Now on social audio, when I say peel the layers back, I got people actually saying it. Because peel the layers back means let's flush out everything that it is that you're saying, or I may have not understood what you're saying. So I need to hear what you're say it again in a way that allows me to digest and go, okay, that's what he means.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I love the visual sort of talking with analogies because that's how it really helps me kind of be structured in my communication. That's interesting that you say that, peel the layers back. You know, one by one. This is the thing, what's underlying the mechanism, what's below the mechanism, these variables.
Sheesh.
That's kind of how I've been talking on the pod. You're saying that, and it's making me realize that that's how I communicate. I have the variables, the mechanism, and then I explain the broader. So that's cool.
But this is what I'm trying to say is a conversation of this magnitude. Yes, it's a podcast. I feel like it can transition to so many other things.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And it's like community is the biggest and the only thing that we really have right now.
Yeah.
If you don't have a community, good luck. Good luck. Whatever you're trying to do, good luck. It could be that idea. It could be like, you know what, I just want to have one t-shirt I want to sell. But you need community for that.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a community, you're not going to get any sales. You're not going to get people into your byproduct.
Yeah.
And realistically, on the lowest scale, all you need is really 10 people around you. That could be man, woman, child, depending on what you're serving. And as long as you have a ticketed item, those 10 people are going to buy.
Yeah.
And just know those 10 people are going to be able to vouch for you into your business, into your brand, into your podcasting, into whatever it is you're selling.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And
Community is extremely important. You know, if it's hard to do anything great on your own, even as a freelancer, in my case, I am typically coming into a business. I am the fractional CMO. It's not like I go in with multiple fractional CMOs. However, in order to, for me to do my best work, I can bounce off ideas with other fractional CMOs in the communities that I'm in. And it helps us all do better because we learn from each other's mistakes. And right now, especially, to be on the bleeding edge of AI, we're all trying things out and we're all learning from each other. And if anyone is not in a community and expecting that they're going to be able to do really great work, they assume they know something. The more I learn, the more I realize, I don't know.
No, it's so true.
Right? I can't be 100% certain of anything. Even my existence. Are we in a simulation? Right? Descartes said himself, I think, therefore I am. Not I know.
we're in some form of a simulation psyop, but that's a whole other podcast. Just this year alone. Yeah. Everything that's happened so far.
Yeah.
Right. And I think prior to the time this comes out, it's like everything's a flipping psyop.
Yeah, yeah.
Like last night I was watching UFC, right? And I was absolutely disturbed that so many folks were posting, oh my God, TikTok is gone. I know some creators, some big creators that are being impacted by that.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about
me too.
Creators like you're a consumer on a damn app, right? We can get why the reason why it's gone, but we're not going to get into that today. Yeah. But I'm like, for folks just to keep posting that, oh my God, it's gone. Oh my God, it's gone. But are you using that as a flipping business? What is the leverage between TikTok and what it is you're doing, right? And I'm like, are people posting this because it's like, oh, everybody else is doing it, I should do it?
Right.
Then basically you're not a leader, you're just a follower.
Yes.
Like for me, if TikTok goes away, it goes away. I did the experience on it. It comes and goes. The ones that I know that used it to, I've watched them build 50K to 100K to 500K to 800K and leveraging that between all the different platforms. Just today on Threads, I reached out to one of my guys. I was like, bro, you got it. You're fine.
Yeah.
I don't even think you need that platform right now because you've built on so many others.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like, folks got to just wake up and just smell the fresh coffee beans and figure it out,
That's why I mentioned in the beginning, it's good to have a holistic strategy because if you put all your eggs in one basket, You might get burnt.
So true.
Something might happen. It's out of your control.
Email
lost.
list.
Yeah.
Email list.
Yeah. Exactly.
Email list. And that's something now that I've been like, I got to incorporate that somewhere now, because it's like, you can't trust these social media apps because of just, you know, how they're trying to censor certain things and whatnot. Yeah. Like, I know folks right now, I can know there's maybe a small, like 2% will watch this podcast and find something that's offensive. But you know what? I don't really give a damn. It's fine. You'll be okay. Yeah. Same soup gets reheated. Yeah. Before we get out here, let's talk about, because you commented it on my way when I was coming up, about empowerment.
Yes.
Right? So we'll put that on the screen somewhere, right? So folks can really digest what it is we were talking about. What does empowerment mean for you in a full general landscape of Baron's point of view?
That's so because of my role, it's right. Leadership requires a lot of empowerment. Self-empowerment, also empowering others. I say this to the marketing directors I work with. I say this to the other fractional CMOs I'm mentoring. Leadership doesn't mean having all the right answers. It means, first of all, admitting you don't. Empowering yourself to make decisions, to be accountable for your decisions and actions, and to also empower others to be accountable for the decisions and actions that they're taking. Empowerment means that we can all do more and better together if we learn to collaborate rather than to work against one another, right? Adopt this abundance mentality, you and me can do this and that, right? We can have stability and instability. We can have predictability and growth. That's what empowerment means to me. A lot of people, they think empowerment is kind of like imposing or motivating. But motivation, when it's not intrinsic, when it comes externally, you rely on the motivation. You rely on somebody to empower you. If you don't hear that empowerment, if it stops, the leader's not around anymore, or now it's time for you to take on and assume a leadership role, and you don't have that intrinsically, you're not hearing it from top down, so you don't know how to, have that sort of mental framework, and then also to carry it forward and pass it on to the people working with you. I think that's where you get like breakage. That's when you have a company where you have a lot of leaders and they're headless chickens. So how can you expect everything below them to operate smoothly and effectively? So I think empowerment is literally just all about being accountable and having conviction with yourself, with what you're doing. It really ties back to everything we talked about. Remembering a future in which you've achieved your goals, having conviction in what you're doing and going, being empowered by what you see, and then to empower others to not necessarily become the best version of what you think they could be, but to become the best version of themselves, to understand what their strengths and weaknesses are, to understand how you can leverage everyone's strengths and weaknesses to lift up to raise the bar. So that's what empowerment means to me.
There's a lot of power in what you said there, because you think about empowerment, you hear it a lot in the women's groups, right? Female empowerment. Mm-hmm. There's a mainstream view of it. There's a extremist view of it. Yeah, we're not going to get into all of that, because I know they'll come. They'll come for me. Yeah. But it's just saying that when you look into your community, and I see this a lot of times happen, you'll be in spaces, women will hype each other up. Mm-hmm. Men don't seem to have that same practice. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's because we're like, it's a form of being vulnerable. Mm-hmm. But I think more men have to do that.
I agree.
It goes even past social media, sharing your friend's post or the content creator's post. But have you checked in with 5 people that you're very consistent with?
Yeah.
And empowering them and saying, hey, listen, I see what you got going on. Mm-hmm. I have 2 two connects in New York. One I don't talk to all the time. It's every literally maybe 3 to 4 months. And it's just how it is. There's no beef, no nothing. But when he checks in, and when I knew the how that relationship is, he was in my gaming community. And when he was on a boat, we were just messing around on a boat. And one of the other guys that we gamed with, they were like, yo, what's Rory doing? But they called me with my gamer tag at the time. And they actually FaceTimed me, but I couldn't get to the call because I was working. And how the iPhone setup has the recording. Mm-hmm. And I watched that and it warmed my heart. Because it's like, it was empowerment. Yeah. It wasn't that, it was like, hey, yo, we're just checking in. It's like, yo, we see what you're doing, da-da-da-da-da, this and that. And we need more of that as men in a collective group.
I agree.
Empower the right ones that are around you, right? But I feel like we are conditioned, could be through society, could be through a whole bunch of this projection, maybe ego, it is what it is, but we never want to empower other specific men because maybe we want to be in their spot.
Yeah.
But we never ask ourselves this question is, how do I get to where they're at?
Yeah.
Am I asking the right questions? Am I checking in?
Yeah.
Am I picking up the phone, calling Baron, calling Rory, texting Baron, texting Rory, yo, what up?
Yeah.
How you been?
Yeah.
Because we're so, well, let's be reserved. I'm just going to sit back and just watch.
Yeah.
But then say, yo, we're cool, but realistically, we're not cool. It's weird energy that we're just continuously just extrapolating with each other.
Or we're very civil, but we just like to get together and get fucked up and have a good time and shoot the shit instead of being like intentional about how we spend each other.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the reason why now, like, I used to make fun of folks. This is kind of putting everything into one. I used to look at a lot of folks and be like, they go to movies by themselves. Now I go to movies by myself. I go to movies by myself because it's my sanctuary. It's what I like to do. Yeah. Right? I could be dating could be a girlfriend I'm dating, could be my wife. If she doesn't want to see the movie, I'm just going to go by myself. I know ladies probably listen to like, why? Take her. She wants to go. No. It's just sometimes, you know what? I'm not going to risk that. It's just let me go do what it is I need to go do because I know you're probably going to want to go out there and do something else. Like, I don't want to sit there all night and watch Greg's Anatomy reruns. I'm sorry. We're not doing that. Right? I respect nurses. I respect people in the health department, but I'm not watching Greg's Anatomy. So if I'm not watching Grey's Anatomy, I'm not going to take you this movie. Yeah. I know you're going to be like under the covers when you get home. And I like thrillers. I like horror movies. Yeah. And you're going to be like, whatever. But we're going to both empower each other.
Yeah.
And that's why I said sometimes it's always good to understand who you are. Be in the community. Yeah. Like where we're recording here. Yeah. This is all fucking community, man. Yeah. It's all community. And sometimes it's just by liking a person's post. To where it goes into a comment, where it then goes into a DM, where then it goes into voice note, where it then goes into a phone call conversation and text messaging. Yeah. Like, heck, I operate off of 2 phones, right? And I look at my phone when we came here, and I'm like, wait, who's this number? I was like, oh, it's you. Yeah. I never coded your number in because our one and only conversation that we had, I didn't have a chance to. Yeah. But now I'm like, let me lock Baron in now because there's more that's going to happen after this. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I say to folks, be in the right frame of mind.
Yes.
Lower the bar, lower the ego. Obviously, protect yourself and whatever, because there's a lot of opportunistic people out there. But it's like, figure out what it is you want. How are you going to get there? How are you going to make things happen? We'll close this out, my guy.
I'm in a couple of communities. Some of them are free, local communities of just guys. There's one called the Brotherhood. These 3 guys decided to start it because of this exact reason. Because guys like to get together and have a good time, but when it comes down to being vulnerable, being open, sharing challenges with one another, this is something that high performers and high achievers do, but typically people don't do that because they go about their day not even thinking in this way. So they started this community called the Brotherhood. Shoutouts Tristan, Armando, Arnold. I'm in this community of 23 guys. Every day we do our goals. All you got to do, no big deal. Just a check emoji in the group chat. And then every Sunday, tonight, I'm going to be doing like a weekly recap. Everyone does it. We read each other's. We try to see if there's any way we can help each other out. That's one. There's another one, Art of Mondays. I'm in that community. It's a paid community. It's pretty pricey. And there's like requirements to get in. You got to make 50K per month in order to. It's pretty tough to get into. However, it's a worldwide community, global. These guys are based in Australia, the founders. So tonight, it's a Sunday for all the people watching. Tonight at 9:30 p.m., I'm going to be getting on this monthly call with these guys.
Which would be Monday their time.
Monday their time, exactly. That's why they call it the art of Mondays. They love Mondays. And we get on this call. We're doing a guided meditation. We're setting goals. We're seeing if there's any way that we can help each other, fellow entrepreneurs. It doesn't have to be in person, like, for example, I have with these guys at the Brotherhood. It can be virtual.
Facts.
But at the end of the day, you surround yourself, whether physically or virtually, around other people. It's really going to impact, again, other people impact the beliefs that you have. These opinions, they come from somewhere, and you either choose to hold them dear or to let them go. You consider whether or not their opinion is better than yours or if yours is better than theirs. But if you're not in a community, you're not getting any of this sort of stimulus. So if you're in a community, you get propelled forward no matter what, because people are doing something, whether you agree with it or not, you kind of figure out how you want to carve your own path. So I highly recommend, just like you're saying, just to wrap this up, highly recommend for everybody to get yourself in a community or multiple communities, people who have values similar to yours. If you see alignment in values, that's a really good green flag. Join, see how you can contribute. If everyone is intent on growing, raising the bar, that's a really good sign. Get involved and inspire others, empower them, empower yourself, get inspiration. And this is how we can all lift each other up and do better.
Jeez, love it. Plug all your information for the audience, man.
Yeah, my Instagram, Baron Bell, Baronbel, website, baronbelalov.com. If you want to join the Mindful Marketer program, that's the mindfulmarketer.co. And in case anybody's curious about PAR5, the hard seltzer, drinkpar5.com. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. Reach out to me, ask me questions anytime. Happy to chat. Yeah, thank you for having me, Rory.
Bro, love, man. Love and peace and prosperity. I love that. And we're going to link everything in the description.
Yeah.
For sure. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.